The Kolbrin Bible, read to you by Nick Andrew Hurley. Part 2, Chapter 12, The Rule of Yosira. Yosira gathered his sons about him and spoke to them thus. These are the days of the dawn light, and I am the dawn lighter from beyond Bashuru. I am the torchbearer for the God of gods. These are the laws which I made for my people in the land of Tewar, the laws of one speaking with the mouth of the God above all gods. He who places a spear or arrow within a dead body shall be accursed, and his hand and arm will become things of evil. They will swell up and be consumed by fire. Likewise shall be accursed who looses his weapons against another. But if it be a man of Tamura who loses the weapons, then he shall die by them himself, for he is beyond the reach of the curse. A tree that reaches up above twice the height of a man shall not be stricken for burning or taken away its land. But if it be dedicated to the adze, and it then used by a craftsman in wood, then it may be stricken and cut. Trees are not things to be lightly dealt with, for they move the winds which across the face of the earth, and generate these in great force in the north and south. The slaughter of a tree is no less wrong than the slaughter of an ox or a sheep, for the same breath of life is in each. Therefore, never bring them low wantingly. Are not trees held sacred by the people of this land? Is it not more reasonable to dedicate a mighty tree or a grove of trees to a god than a mute stone or object cut from wood? Therefore, when Yosira moved among the people, he did not forbid them their grave groves, nor did he silence the words of the women who tended them. But Yosira said, These things are for women, and not for men. Let the women bide, but men should follow the calling of men, and their place is not among the grave groves. Now, when Yosira came among the people, they dwelt away from the river, fearing the god of moving waters who molested them at night. But Yosira bound the god of moving waters, so he no longer troubled the people. Then Yosira bade them build their dwelling places beside the moving waters, decreeing that none should dwell beside still water, unless the still water be filled with life of fish. In those days, men sought to appease the formless ones and the spirits of the night with offerings and worship. But Yosira forbade them this, and he surrounded the whole land with a protective wall which no dark spirit could penetrate, while all those within were dissolved. Every dark spirit being neither male nor female, and every dark spirit which clothed itself in the shape of a beast or bird, was bound and cast back into the place of darkness. All men who were blood kindred with the beasts of the forest, or with fowl, or with serpent, dwelt together according to their kinship, and were divided thereby. Yosira forbade them not their kinship, but did forbid the rule of blood. He spoke to the people in this manner. Great are the ties of the things which bind men together and joins them with their forefathers, but greater still is each man in himself, his destiny lying within himself alone and not within his kindred. Man is not a drop of water in the stream of life, but a fish that swims within the stream. Yet insofar as these things have ever been, the 24 great kinships shall remain secured in their establishment. Before the coming of Yosira, a man could not take to wife a woman of his own blood, but Yosira redeemed the land with blood, safeguarding it against the barrenness. So, henceforth, men could take wives from among their own blood kindred, and the land remained fruitful. This, the spirit of life, became strong among men, for it was not spread out to become diluted and weakened. Until Yosira came, none in the land knew of Hoku, and it filled men with fear and awe. But Yosira revealed all its secrets to his sons, and the secrets are known even to this day. Hoku is that which sustains the dawn dwellers. It is but thinly spread throughout the earth, and before the days of Yosira, men could gather it, storing it in stones and in sacred objects. It may be drawn upon by the spirits of men, as women draw upon water from a well. It is Hoku which bestows fertility, causing flocks to multiply and crops to increase. Its secrets are known by the twice-born. Though in the days of his distress Yosira called upon his father in Kamgamwa, he forbade his sons to call upon him likewise, for Yosira was their father on earth and their advocate in the hall of admission. Therefore, none can call upon him with impunity, for if he dwelt with them, he would neglect his task among the dawn dwellers. nor is any man justified in calling upon the spirit of a departed one, for they are beyond concern for the everyday affairs of men. When the sons of Yosira had established their rule over the people, the leaders of the people came to Yosira, desiring to make him their king, so he would rule over them. But when they came before him, Yosira replied to their wish in this manner: I am the mouth of the God of gods and the light of my people. I will be the father of your king and the director of his footsteps, but your king I cannot be, for I am dedicated in service to the God of gods. Saying this, Yosira then took his son, who was grown to manhood, and led him forth by the hand, giving him to the people to be their king. Later, while the leaders and governors of the people still remained gathered after the anointing of their king, Yosira spoke to them as the mouth of God. He said, To judge justly between man and man is one of the greatest obligations of a king and those who stand in his place. So, from this day hence, judgment shall not be given by those who sit under the trees, listening to the words whispered among the leaves. However, if 3 men sit far apart, and each gives a like judgment, the words from their mouths being the same, then the judgment shall be good. However, if it is a matter where a life can be forfeit, or property taken away, a family divided, or a man or woman enslaved, then judgment shall be given only by the king or the one who wears his mantle and bears his burden. Sacred waters are living waters, filled with the power of Hoku, and shall no longer be used for any purpose other than sanctification and purification. No longer shall they be used to decide whether a wife be guilty of adultery. Henceforth she shall be tested by the bitter drought alone. He who eats the flesh of swine shall be accursed. For to eat the flesh of swine is to eat something dedicated to the fathers of men and an abomination. Flesh of the ass shall not be eaten, for it diminishes the vigor of men. Henceforth the bodies of the dead shall not be broken or burnt, for the Hoku within them departs with the Lord of the body. Therefore nothing can be added unto the victorious one by rendering up the essence of his earthly mantle through the flames of the fire. The people shall not be denied their feast, nor shall they be forbidden the rituals of fruitfulness. Their offerings to any god shall not be taken away. As the gods of the people are today, so shall they remain, for they serve their end. They may be depicted, their gods, after their own fashion, for the likeness of such gods is of small consequence. But the likeness of the God of gods shall not be fashioned by any man, for he is beyond the understanding of men. No man shall seek to find his likeness in water. The festival to the God who draws up the land is not to be denied the people, but no longer shall they eat the flesh of asses, for now this is forbidden. The days for the feast of the forefathers shall not be diminished, lest the gift of long life be thereby curtailed. With them alone is the distribution of life forces, in their keeping are the powers granted fertility and of good fortune. Unto those who control the sprouting corn, the increasing of herds, and the harvesting of fish, the potency of men and the fertility of women, success in hunting and victory in the war, shall be given all due honor and worship. He who causes injury or death, sickness or suffering by drawing the likeness of another in sand and piercing it with a fire-hardened stick, or he who makes the likeness of another in wax to burn it in the fire, or in clay to be pierced by stake or thorn, is henceforth accursed. He will be delivered to the Lukim of disease or death. He shall be accursed, he who mixes living grain with fat to enslave the earth shade of another man or woman. He shall be accursed, who calls up the night shade of another, or the night frightener. All who are so accursed will be delivered to the Lukim of sickness, or shall become the prey of the formless ones. It is not wrong to make an image of a breast child, that a woman may conceive, but to make the likeness of a man's private organ, so that a woman may conceive, is wrong, and any woman making or laying with such a likeness shall be accursed. She who is so accursed will be delivered to the Lukim of sickness and pain. When Yosira came up into Harfanti, he found there people with strange customs, which displeased him, but he forbade them none except those which were evil in the sight of the God of gods. While there he laid a great curse upon those who transgressed his laws. These were words spoken through the mouth of Yosira, which he caused to be recorded. Henceforth, no maiden shall be enclosed in bark and kept in darkness for 7 days before marriage, but she may be kept in seclusion among women. If she has to be purified, it must be done with water and not with fire. A woman shall never be mutilated to purge her wickedness. Henceforth, the private parts of young women shall not be sewn up to preserve their maidenhood. This shall remain in their own keeping, and in the keeping of the young women's kindred in good faith and trust. To sew up or cut the private parts of any woman is a great wickedness, for this is the portal of life, and woman is not an unworthy guardian. It is best that women remain maidens until their married days, of their own free will and choices. But if because of the maiden's weakness this seems doubtful, then the obligations shall be to her kindred. The customs of the Habatzi, whereby the legs of young women are bound together, after which young men may enter their chamber to lie with them, is a thing of wickedness and no longer permitted. Now, if any man discovers the nakedness of a maiden, he shall not go unpunished. Man shall not see the nakedness of woman in childbirth, even though the woman be his wife. The hut of childbirth and all within its circle is a place forbidden to men. Henceforth, no woman shall be suspended at childbirth. The foreskin of a man is cut off to defy the lucum of impotency. This is not forbidden to the people, but they shall not preserve the foreskin in fat and use it to endow stones with hoku. The binding of foreskin is forbidden. Yosira laid the greatest of all curses upon those who captured and enslaved the lord of the body belonging to another. Since that day, none has done so and lived. He also laid a curse upon women who baked their newborn children and ate them because of the barrenness of the land. He also cursed the chief of the women's kindred. Before times, that which grew to fullness within the womb of cattle and sheep was sustenance for men alone. But when the beast cast it forth before its day, it became sustenance appointed for women. Yosira forbid this and cursed all that came forth from the womb of beast before its time. Yosira had these things recorded in Yapu. No child shall be slain willfully, saying, "Our God has denied it proper sustenance." Above all gods is the God of gods, who is the God of life, and they who proclaim these things proclaim a falsehood against him. Yet they shall not be accused until after the day when they have heard the laws of the God of gods spoken unto them. Before then, they have been led astray by those who should guide them, and on the leaders shall be the curse. Henceforth, the empty body shall not be bound tight against itself, but stretched out, for the earthly body cannot be reborn once its Lord has departed. The people shall not be forbidden the carrying of it, nor shall they be stopped from elevating it, but it shall not be hung over the living waters, lest it call forth the formless one in the darkness of the night. If the kindred of a man come up to molest him at night, that nightshade shall be bound by the power of hoku, transmitted into a hollow log filled with fire-retaining substances. The log will then be burnt in purifying fire, and the ashes buried after the fashion of your fathers, but the hoku shall not be given back. That hoku which comes from the man whose crop and trees yield abundantly is best. The spirit of the life of men does not dwell in the moving waters, and therefore it cannot enter into a woman from the waters. Neither does her own water bear it up from the ground. Even as a tree springs from the single seed, and the barley from a single grain, so it is with the seed of men. That which forms within the womb of woman is not built up from many outpourings of man. One will suffice. If the blood of a woman be not stopped, then she carry no child, for the life within is blood of her blood. No man shall fashion the likeness of any beast to lay with it, so that his flocks and herds be increased. For henceforth he who does so, and all his beasts shall be accursed, so they sicken and perish. Nor shall any man spill his seed into an object of wood or stone and bury it. If he does so, then he be accursed, so that he is forever molested by the nightshades of terror. It is foolishness to resort to the charmers who make likenesses of beasts, so that their kind may be brought to the arrow and spear. Unless he who seeks the wild beast is empowered with the hoku gathered by the kindred of his habitation, naught can guide his steps or strengthen his arm, neither will his eye see keenly. The success of the hunter is not to be found with the charmers, but lies in the goodness and uprightness of the kindred within his habitation. If a woman takes seed from a young man and deliver it to the charmers so that her barrenness be removed from her, then she and the youth, and if she bear any children, they also shall be accursed. The young man will be seized by the Lukim which feast on the hearts of men, and the woman by those which tear open the bowels. It is an abomination in the sight of God of gods for men to deball themselves, and all who do so shall be accursed. Those who would deball themselves for the sake of their God may instead make an offering of their foreskin, and this will be acceptable by any god. The prayer of thankfulness that they are not born women shall be made at the time of the sacrifice upon the altar. The excreta of man and women shall never be left exposed to the eyes of anyone, nor in a place where its smell can come to the nostrils, nor shall anyone pass water where another can smell it, for they whose nostrils the smells enter thereby in gain power over the other. The smell from human waste draws up the formless Lukim which afflict men and women at night and turn their bowels to water. No offering of meat shall be eaten raw. It shall be roasted before a fire, and the bones pounded into flour and eaten with meal. If the offering be consumed within a dwelling place, then the blood which has been spared must be smeared upon the doorposts, so that the dark shades of the night haunters and the death bringers be repulsed by the power of life. It is the duty of a son to provide sustenance for a departed one who was his mother or his father, and he shall not neglect his brother or his sister or any of his kinfolk who lack children. If he be neglectful of this duty, he shall not escape molestation by the earth shades of the departed ones, which will wander relentlessly until satisfied. If formless ones be called forth by neglect so that they reach stability on earth, they will haunt the dark watches of the night and suck life-filled blood to sustain their awful forms. No man may keep them from his dwelling, for they will slide in stealthily, even as snakes. All those who are awakeners of the dead shall be accursed and delivered to the Lukim of madness. If any of my people deal with them, they too shall be accursed, so that they become prey to the terrors of the night. It is futile to consult the departed ones, for what can they do but advise on matters of little import? If they have anything of importance to impart, they will come unabidden to men of understanding and make it known. When Yosira came with his sons and those with him into the true land of Tamura, he strove with the people of Katinatu, who followed the ways of wickedness and ignorance. He remained among the people of Tamura during the days of Gabu, dwelling at the place where now stands the temple of the Sky-Seer, in an abode of reeds by the moving water. In those days, the people of earth united themselves with those who were in the land of morning light, by the powers within the body of a woman child, seeking in this manner to preserve the Hoku of their kindred. When Yosira saw the wickedness of the custom, he placed a great curse upon all the land, and upon those who split the body of a woman child, so that her flesh cried out from within them. Therefore, the land became stricken with a great plague. Since then, never has anyone in the enlightened lands eaten the flesh of man or woman, and no woman child is violated in the great wickedness of ignorance. The people of Tamura greatly feared the curse of Yosira. Yosira taught the people that the power of Hoku reside not in the flesh of the body, but in the bones, and that each bone contained the essence of all the being, man and woman. Then the people began to seek union with the departed ones in the land of morning light by the power of the bones, and Yosira forbade this not, though he knew it was futile. But where there was healing in the bones, and they were able to draw it forth, Yosira was not displeased, for all things pertaining to the good of the people were well in his sight. Nevertheless, he forbade the woman the burden of the bones of her husband, and since then no shade has risen to molest them. This was because of the protecting power which he drew forth to fill all the land. It relieved the women of their burden, raising it from their backs. All the charmers who brought forth shades from the land of dawning, and all the questioners of the dead and the awakeners of the dead were cursed, and this curse hovers over the land even to this day. Yet there are still some who seek to call forth a shade from the swathed body of Eternal, but all they raise up is an ill-omened messenger from the place of darkness. Yosira did not forbid to the people the rites of homage due to their departed kinsfolk, for in the place of morning light these were the powers most interested in the welfare of any mortal man. Yosira never forbade anything that was to the benefit of men. taking away not but the things that were futile or harmful. In those days there were no rights of written record, but Yosira caused them to be given to the people, not so that these should renew life in the departed ones upon earth, but so that the Lord of the body should be sustained and strengthened in the place of the morning light by the link of Hoku, sacrificed by those remaining on earth. Yosira spoke to the people, giving them laws which were recorded in this manner. These are the words of the God of gods who created man and beast upon the sacred island. No beast shall be mated with another not of its kind, and if this happen, then both shall be slain and their bodies burnt. If this be done with the permission of a man, then that man will be accursed. Neither shall any beast be yoked together with another not of its own kind. During the first year of its life, no beast shall be made to take up the burden of man. When Yosira came to Cambusis, he found there a man of the Hestabwis, bound and prepared for sacrifice, and he cried out against the deed, but none gave ear to his word. So, standing off, Yosira placed a staff of power upright into the ground and danced around it, singing the song for drawing forth the Spirit. When they saw this, the people were wroth against him, and called upon their charmers to curse him, so he departed from the earth. Their curses were ineffective, and when one charmer approached the dancing ring of Yosira, Yosira called forth a tongue of flame which consumed the charmer. Then the people became afraid and fled. So Yosira released the man who was bound upon the place of sacrifice, but he was not yet whole. Yosira also cursed all those who offered the Hestabwis as a sacrifice to their gods. Since that day no man of the Hestabwis was ever slain upon the altars. Yosira did not curse the charmers of that place. Instead he called them to him and gave them dominion over the dark spirits which left their abode to wander earth, molesting men in their habitation. Thus the charmers became great in the eyes of the people, and from that day onward they have cleansed the land of all dark spirits. However, Yosira forbade them the calling forth of the Lord of the body from any man, so that he becomes the servant of another, and he placed a great curse upon any charmer who disobeyed this law. Yet this is done even now, but those who transgress the laws of Yosira do not escape the awful fate due to them, for his power is yet potent in the lands of his people. When the transgressor stands before him in awful judgment, their deeds will be witnessed against them. Yosira forbade those who sat in judgment the right to judge men by the fat of crocodile or by the horn or skin. Instead, he revealed to them the manner of making judgment through comb and by burning sword. He also taught them how to brew drink which loosens the bonds from the tongues of men, so that truth was no longer restrained. The people dwelling among the trees, along the banks of the moving waters, lived in fear of the tree apes. They held these sacred and would never harm them. They behaved that these tree apes snatched the departing Lord of the body and ate it, that they lurk in wait to catch it in a mighty unseen net. So Yosira went about cursing the food reserved for the tree apes, so that it became fire in their bellies, causing the life within them to come up as foam out of their mouths. Thus the land was freed from fear and from the tree apes, and henceforth the departed ones have gone in peace, no longer being molested by the tree apes. End of chapter 12.